Welcome back to the Success Culture Podcast, Episode 2. I am Coach Tom, here with Coach Grace, and we are outside today. So if you're watching the video, you'll see that we are in fact outside behind the building. Right back there is our beautiful gym. This is the gym owner, and I am just a mere trainer and sort of a podcast host, you could say. And I specialize in mobility training and general strength training, bodybuilding training. Grace is a bit more on the prenatal, postpartum sort of.
Name?
Oh my, did I not say my name?
I don't think you said your name. Maybe you did. Let's say it again just in case.
Just in case. Otherwise, I apologize for the redundancy, but I am Coach Tom. And Grace also deals a lot with them senior fitness people. So today we are going to be discussing when and why you may want to hire a trainer. But before we get into that, we're going to do what we call a little whiffle and just kind of update each other on what's going on in our lives, because that's the kind of culture we want to breed here. We really care about each other and want to know what's going on. So we'll start with Grace. Whiffle for us.
Whiffle. Whiffle stands for what I feel like expressing is.
It's
a way to get out the stuff that we're thinking about. It's on our chest before we dig into the task at hand. And so today there's a lot of things, but I'm going to pick one of the really exciting things that I'm excited about, which is that Success as an organization. This year we launched what's called the Success Health Alliance, which is a health and wellness professional networking group. So exclusive to those individuals that we really need to have good relationships with to bring better care to our extended communities. So we launched that back in March, and I'm really excited that we just booked our second event for May 30th. It's going to be at, I hope it's okay to plug them, I'm going to plug them, Ascension Physical Therapy, which is here in Maplewood, with Dr. Jacob Salaba. He is just a brilliant PT here, doing great things over at his clinic. So if you are a health or fitness professional listening or watching, and you're available at 8 a.m. on May 30th, check out our website for more details on that event. And I'm just really excited. Anytime you launch a new project, you're like, never know how well it's going to go over. And this one has been so well received, and we're so excited to keep running with it. And I'm really excited to start promoting the second event. So that's what I feel like expressing. Thomas, Coach Tom, what do you feel like expressing?
My expression probably won't be quite as nice as your expression, but leading up to where we are now, we had a little crazy, chaotic little bit getting set up for this. Like, it started rain because again we're outside. Started raining, so we quickly ran back inside. We're like, we'll record in this little creepy room over here instead. And then we ran right back out once we realized the rain was getting, starting to subside a bit. So yeah, there is that.
Tell them about Audacity right before that.
Oh, and then before that, the recording program that we're using, that's what it is, right? Yeah. That it needed an update. And, just so we're a bit behind for this, so apologies if it seems I'm all rushed with that in mind. Other things I like to express are less on my behalf, because I don't have quite as many specific exciting things going on, but older brother is getting a house, and another one of my best friends is engaged, so I'm going to use some of their life events as my whiffle. So yeah, there's that.
That's exciting.
So, moving on from the whiffle now, we're going to get into the main topic of the pod, which again is when and why you may want to hire a trainer. If you're somebody who has a hard time being consistent with their fitness, just in general, you may, do very well to have somebody guiding you and helping you adhere to your program, because consistency is the most important part, in many of our opinions anyway. Consistency and being able to adhere to what you're trying to do. Without that, how are you going to expect to be able to progress and actually get to your goal? So if you're somebody who has a hard time with the consistency, with the adherence, that's going to be, I think, one of the most telling signs of whether you want to potentially look for hiring a trainer.
Yeah, I have to agree. That's a really good time. And the flip side of that, is if you're someone who is super consistent with your program and you know how to progress your program, you're getting the results you want. We do work with people like that, and sometimes you still want to hire a trainer. I have gotten fantastic improvements in my own lifting regimen from advice I've gotten from the other coaches here, because I can't really see myself doing things all the time. I mean, mirrors are helpful to an extent, but having a coach is super valuable. But also maybe that's when you don't need a trainer, but you could always hire one just to check form on some things and give you some pointers that might make a huge difference. Maybe you're doing well, but there's this missing piece, and that's when a coach can be really great. But otherwise, yeah, like Tom was saying, that consistency, if you struggle with that, huge. Because what's really common in the fitness space and people who are trying to get on a program is they pick these kind of extreme challenges or these extreme programs out there that are super unrealistic on a long-term scale. They might be fun for a little bit. And if you're someone who can do something fun and intense for, 30, 60, 90 days, whatever that challenge is, and then get right back into kind of a maintenance phase and continue on with a regular program, great. But if you're not, then you might need a coach to help hold you accountable to that. And that doesn't mean that you have to meet with someone every day, but you might need a coach or a trainer in some regard that is checking in with you on some regular interval to make sure that you keep going. And keep in mind that when we say adherence, we mean like that you just keep going. It doesn't mean you don't have an off week or an off 2 weeks, but you have someone who's gonna be like, that's okay, you're gonna get right back on. We have off weeks, we are human and we get sick and we have family events and things that happen just like anyone else. But the difference in people who are consistent and make this part of their lifestyle and those who are not is how much time you let those things interfere with your ongoing program. So yeah, having a coach or a trainer can be really helpful, as Tom said, if you're inconsistent and have poor adherence with the regular programs out there, or one that you're trying to build yourself. Or in general, like if you just don't know how to do it on your own. So maybe you have great discipline and all the like willpower in the world to make this happen and make it part of your regular routine, but you get into it and you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. That's a really good time to look at hiring a trainer. And maybe you do know how to do things on your own, but you've plateaued and you're not sure how to progress. So I'm going to let Tom speak to that for a minute.
Yeah, so basically we cover, you may know what you're doing more or less, but you have a hard time adhering to it, or maybe you're the person who does not know what they're doing, and that's like probably the most obvious reason somebody might want to hire a trainer. And then you kind of have this sort of, you could call it a gray area or the in-between zone, where maybe you follow some sort of program, whether it's through YouTube or some other social media, and it's kind of a general guidance, and again, you're able to adhere to it, but because of maybe your resources at home, like with your equipment, and or just the way that the social media workout is set up, you've plateaued, or you don't know exactly where to take it, where it's going to go. Again, you might be at a point where it's going to be in your best interest to get even more involved guidance from an actual certified trainer in person.
Ooh, can I speak to that?
Oh, of course.
Sorry. I just want to put a prime example of this. We just started with a new client this week who he had gained some weight, started training at home on his own, saw good results, laid a foundation, and now is kind of like, I don't know where to go from here. And definitely knows that strength training is not really in his wheelhouse, but knows that it's an important part of ongoing life and a good quality of life. So he wants to get going with it, he wants to learn. So that's a really prime example. So we kind of talked about a timeline and planning to spend the next 6 to 12 months really teaching him everything that we possibly can, and getting him into a good program so that he can take this and continue it on into his life. So yeah, like Tom said, you start somewhere, you know what you know, and then you find out what you don't know, and you have to kind of decide what your next step is in continuing to make progress and find some sustainability to your training program.
And it is starting to pitter-patter a little bit with the rain, so we may have to take a little break in a moment, or maybe not. Maybe we'll get lucky.
We'll see.
But we've more or less covered why a person may want to seek out a trainer. It doesn't necessarily matter whether or not you do or do not know what you're doing, because a big part of it, again, as we started off, is the adherence. So even if you kind of know what you're doing, having that accountability person, very, very valuable. And then, covered every bit in between the, whether you don't know, you're kind of in between there. So certain questions that you might want to consider if you are seeking out a trainer is, of course, going to be probably one of the most important parts is the experience of that trainer and what their credentials are. So you can think about, how long they've been in the industry and just exactly how many credentials they have within their certification, and then whether or not they're actually insured, and then you can also look and see reviews for that trainer. So those are some of the main considerations you want to make. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just want to speak a little bit to the background of the industry and unpack that experience and credentials a little bit, because we are a unregulated, licensed industry right now with certifications. So that means that the barrier to entry is very low for anyone who wants to be a trainer. So you don't even need to have a certification, actually. Any Joe Schmo off the street can say he's a trainer. And Joe Schmo off the street might even end up being a better trainer than a trainer that has a ton of credentials and certifications. So it is really a tricky industry where you have to go with your gut, you have to do your research. I would really look at those reviews and testimonials. That is huge. And then just meet them, talk with them. A big red flag is if they kind of jump right into like a sales strategy with you and they're not trying to understand you as a person. Because one thing I would say about a good experienced trainer and someone who's in it for the right reasons to actually help people, they're going to want to get to know you and they're going to want to understand you as a individual and what your goals and needs are. They're not just going to be jumping right into like, oh, let's get you in for I don't know, sales meeting, whatever. There's a lot of sleazy tactics in the training industry. It can sometimes feel like you're at a car dealership. No offense to car salesmen. But it's important to note that we're not regulated at this time. We as a team are working to change that, building out curriculum and hoping to get some licensure credentials under the name. But it's an interesting industry. The evolution of it has been interesting. So just trust your gut, do your research, and know that they should truly be out to help you, not just take your money. Insurance is a big one. They will not be able to be insured if they are not certified. So making sure that there is insurance in place. If anything ever happens when you're working with a trainer, them having liability insurance doesn't mean that you won't be taken care of. It just means that their insurance will take care of it, not the individual trainer. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a background on how the credentialing works within the industry. Another thing that's important, obviously, to consider is, I'm jumping ahead, but is the personality and the overall fit. So meet with them. And if you feel at all uncomfortable, I mean, it's a big commitment. There are a lot of trainers out there and you should definitely make sure that it's a good fit. And we always do that here at Success. Like if someone comes in, we kind of get an idea when we first talk to them based on their personality and their goals and needs and just more about them as a person, who is going to be a good fit for them. But we still have them come in and meet that person and see how we feel like it's going to go. And that's going to be really important. You're going to be spending some time with this person. You're going to be taking instruction from this person. So it better be someone that you're willing to listen to, or else you're kind of wasting your time and money. And not just the person, but also the facility. Like, how do you feel in the walls of that gym? Like, do you like big box gyms? Do you like kind of swanky boutique gyms? Do you like more old school weight room feel types of gyms? That's what we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just check out the facility, check out the people, and make sure that you jive with that, or it's kind of failing before you even start. Not necessarily, but it's important stuff. And there's like I said, there's a lot of options. So find what works for you. And again, if they are trying to take your money without letting you find out if it's a good fit, run away. Okay. Cost. Obviously, personal training is an investment. This is why we are working to change the credentialing, because we think it is something that, as great as it is for preventing so many other health-related issues, it should be covered by insurance, and it's not. So in the meantime, until we can fight that battle and win, it is a investment, right? So things to know is that cheaper isn't always better. There are some $25 a session trainers out there. I'm not exactly sure how they pay their insurance and equipment and employees. I don't know. It's scary. But another little industry insider is that training historically at most facilities is a sales job. Like, trainers are paid on commission. That means if they lose a client, they could lose pay. So they have a lot of incentive to make sure that if you even think about moving on and working out on your own, like, they don't want that to happen. They want you to be there for a long time. And they need to see more clients, as many clients as they can, to earn any more money. And so there's a lot of burnout and there's a lot of turnover. We do not pay our employees that way, and we have frequent meetings with them to ensure they're not getting burnt out, but that's something to just know in the industry, to maybe it's totally appropriate to ask how their employees are paid, so that you can be protecting yourself, because you don't want a trainer who's completely burnt out. But also asking about what's included with the cost of your training. Like, are they going to give you homework to do? Are they going to talk to you about nutrition? What exactly is all entailed with that program? Is it like you come in for your sessions and then out of sight, out of mind? Or do you kind of have someone there as your cheerleader going on? So good to understand that. Good to understand how long your sessions are going to be, how many you get a week. Are you in a contract? How long is that contract? Do you have to have a gym membership along with that? Are there startup fees? Are there really cancellation fees? Those are all things that are very common in the training industry. Again, not things that we do here at Success at all, because we are like the anti-gym.
Yeah.
But, they are common, so it's really important to get a good understanding of those pieces when you're looking at bringing on a trainer. Okay, We've talked about a lot of things to consider when you should hire a trainer. Tom,
Yeah.
what are some reasons that someone should not hire a trainer?
Well, pretty obvious one is if you truly cannot afford it and you kind of have an idea of that going into the pursuit of finding a trainer, you probably should refrain at least for a bit until you feel like you can afford it, because I don't really know what the point of starting something is when you have this idea in the back of your head that you're not going to be able to afford it long term, and then whatever progress you made, it's probably not going to really go anywhere because you're going to have to stop the training. So that is big.
I'm going to hand it back to Tom in a second, but one of the things that I always challenge people on this is, two things. One is get an idea in your head of how long you could sustain the investment of training, because that's something that's totally fair to be open with a trainer about, or a coaching facility. So if you're looking at bringing one on and you're like, hey, okay, if it costs this much, I know that I can afford 4 months of training, and then it's going to become a little bit unrealistic for me. Great. What are our goals to accomplish in those 4 months? And make sure that someone is willing to give you as much value as you can in the amount of time that you feel like you can budget. Because you're not gonna like build Rome in a day. Most of the time when people come to us, the lifestyle that they've been living that has led them to come to a trainer, that lifestyle has been going on anywhere from like 4 to 40 years. So it's not gonna be turned around in 4 months. So that's something that's important to be really honest with yourself about, and honest with your potential coaching team about, so that they can help you the best possible way, and they can give you an idea of what to expect in that time frame as well. But also, if you can't afford it, if that's part of it, I have absolutely had people tell me that they can't afford it, but then I've been very very aware of them having disposable income spent on other things, which is fine. I'm not telling anyone what to do with their money, but it is sometimes not a matter of can't afford it as much as it is an order of priorities. And that's fair. That's absolutely fine. Everyone gets to do what they want with their money. But if it is something that's really important to you, then just be honest with yourself about, is it a matter of finances or a matter of priorities? Because if you're like getting your nails done and getting tattoos and going out to eat 3-4 times a week and going to the bar and going on trips, that's disposable income. That's not necessities, and that's stuff that could be reallocated. It's just a matter of priority, which again is absolutely fine. Everyone gets to live their life, but be honest with yourself when you're deciding where this priority falls. Okay, Tom, why else should someone not hire a trainer?
I will say, first of all, those were very great additional points there to add on. I think that a lot of the time, the way that fitness is presented, it's kind of almost not seen as something that people should prioritize, even though they might seek out training or be curious about getting the results that they want. They still might find themselves not being able to really understand that it's something that should be a higher priority item, and then it will just kind of end up falling behind all these other things, and that's just not something a lot of people realize, unfortunately. So next to that, though, I think that unrealistic expectations is a huge one, but the unfortunate thing about this point is not everybody's going to really understand what an unrealistic expectation is, because of the expectations, or the false expectations, that have kind of been presented in media, social media, whatever. So yeah, if you're somebody who really is seeking, in my opinion, some of the most unrealistic expectations come from just wanting really fast results. And it's not necessarily unrealistic in the sense that you may not get some sort of fast results if that is like what you're, the trainer you happen to find is going to guide you through, but it's not going to be sustainable long term. So in that sense, it's not very realistic. So yes, unrealistic goals, that is, maybe you need to figure out what a realistic or unrealistic goal is before you go into this whole process of trying to find a trainer. That's one of the most important ones to me, because you hear it pretty regularly. People will not understand, how, like, a big one you'll hear is, oh, I don't want to, and it's usually from women, but I don't want to get too bulky, or whatever the case may be, or they might use words like I want to tone or whatever, and it's all these little buzzword things. And I'm not saying you're somebody who can't be coached in these cases, but it's also kind of like you're not understanding the terms, or you're not understanding, again, what is realistic and what is unrealistic. And that's something that you can kind of be coached through the beginning of your training process, but at the same time, if your goals are super unrealistic, then you might want to just wait it out a little bit, figure things out.
And yeah, as Tom was saying, that's something that absolutely a coach should be able to pick up on. So going through an intake or assessment, like a good coach is going to be able to tell you, like, hey, that goal is not really going to happen in that time frame or whatever the situation. But I want to speak to when Tom said people that come in and want to get toned. So prime example of an unrealistic expectation and where you could still hire a trainer and they should educate you on this. But something to know, this is kind of off topic. I want to unpack it anyways though. If you come in and you say you want to get toned but not bulky, or toned but not put on muscle, when people say toned, when you close your eyes and think of someone who is toned, my guess is that you're not picturing someone with like really soft, droopy, saggy skin. You're probably picturing someone that has some lines and some definition in their arms, even their calves. Oh my gosh. Their legs, their glutes, their torso, their body, right? That's muscle. You can't get those looks and those lines. Tom, you should just pull your shirt up for a second. Want to take your shirt off? Tom likes taking his shirt off. Take your shirt off.
Okay.
Okay. So.
I'm a little hairy though, so.
Okay, so let's flex.
Which thing am I flexing?
All of them.
I'll do a deltoid.
So Tom is going to be our demonstrator here. So
Hopefully
you
there's something
don't get like lines, you don't get abs, you don't get these shoulder cuts, you don't get any of that without having muscle on you. Thank you, Tom. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Those of you listening, you can watch the video later. But yeah, like that just doesn't happen unless you have muscle. So and you can even look on some of our other YouTubes and our social media and you can see Tom when he was much less muscular and see like, so women, you also just don't have the level of testosterone needed to get the kind of muscle that Tom has. It would take a lot and a lot of good genetics for that to happen. So yeah, prime example is just when people come in and they say they want to get toned. And I want you to be realistic with yourself. I'm speaking to anyone who's ever said that, I want to get toned. That means you want to build muscle and burn fat. Mm-hmm. Yep. So no way around it. That's what it means. Okay. I digress. Enough about that. The other thing is like in general, if you're not coachable, like if you're someone who just thinks you already know everything and you're going to come in and you're going to hire a trainer for the sake of hiring a trainer and you think that just spending the money is going to get you the results, it's not. Like you have to be willing to take the advice. You have to be willing to, even if it doesn't necessarily resonate with you exactly or you don't totally understand it. I mean, ask questions because a coach should be able to explain to you why they're telling you to do what they're telling you to do. But you also then have to take that advice and execute on it. Because if you're not, there is no point in you hiring a coach and attempting to like follow a quote unquote program if you're not actually going to follow it. I think some people like to just say that they have a trainer and that's fine. Like sometimes just for that adherence and for making it part of your day-to-day life, it is important to have someone there for accountability. But if you are serious about getting results, you need to be willing to follow the program. You need to be coachable. And again, asking questions is great. There should be explanation for why you're doing the things that you're being prescribed to do. But it shouldn't be a battle. It shouldn't be, well, I don't want to do that. Well, your coach is telling you to do it. So just because it's hard and just because it might be inconvenient, you hired them to do a job and they're going to do it. Okay. It's kind of like if you hired someone to remodel your house, but then every step of the way you were like, well, no, I don't want you to take that wall down. No, I don't want you to change that wallpaper. No. We're going to restructure your body. You have to be willing to be inconvenienced a little bit, okay? And then the last thing I'm going to say on this, and then I'll turn it over to Tom, but is don't hire a trainer. This is, sorry, it's kind of redundant of what Tom was already saying, but if you want that magic pill, like if you think there's a magic pill and you think, I've tried everything, hiring the trainer is going to be the thing. It might be, but we still don't have magic pills either. We have thousands of golden BBs that will get you there, and one by one, you can just keep building a sustainable lifestyle, but there's no silver bullet. There's nothing that is suddenly going to get you there, and coming in and hiring a trainer for a month or 2 months is also not going to get you there. Like, I love our profession. I love what we do, and I believe in what we do, and I believe in all my coaches, but the best trainer in the world isn't going to get you there in a month. So you can't come in looking for that silver bullet because it doesn't exist. There isn't one. Okay, that's everything I have on why not to hire a trainer. Tom?
Well, anything I would say from this point would probably just be a little bit redundant from what you just said, but I think a point that you made that I kind of want to repeat just because I really liked it is I too, being a trainer, love this profession, respect this profession, but it is important to know, very important to know, that, like she said, just because you're working with a trainer, you could have the greatest trainer in the world, greatest programs, greatest frequency for you as the individual, but if you're not going to adhere, and not even just that, but if you're not going to actually push yourself, it doesn't matter. So it's, at the end of the day, it's a relationship that you're going to be kind of looking for. It's going to be the right relationship for somebody who's going to be able to properly coach you, and you have to also be coachable, and you have to listen and, you know, ask questions. You can be skeptical from time to time, but also hopefully respecting the trainer's experience. So yeah, those are more or less the main points that we want to get out. Apologies for the rushed nature of this one, but hopefully you still gained a lot of insight. I wouldn't be surprised if we tackle this topic again down the line in a more broad form and add more points. But yeah, so gonna sign us out. Oh, Grace,
Just one more thing. At the end of the day, I just want to really emphasize being your own advocate. So when you do go in, and if you are considering hiring a coach, you can't stress it enough. Like, make sure on the front end that everything feels good, that it is a good fit, and that they're not just trying to take your money and sign you up for this long-term commitment. It should be a long-term commitment, but it should be because you want it to be and because it works with your life, not because that's what they're forcing you to do. So I'm done now.
Well, again, this has been the Success Culture Podcast. You can find us wherever podcasts are found.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And you can also find the video versions on YouTube as well. So you can see that we are in fact outside, and it's not a lie. And
And his shirt is off.
And the shirt is off, and a car just drove by. I don't know if that was loud or not, but either way. Where else can you find us? Our website. We have, it's a Success Fit. You say the
Should
URL.
I do all the plugs?
Do the plugs.
So you can find us online at www.successfitnessandtraining.com. You can reach out to us at info@successfitnessmn.com. So if you have questions that you'd like us to cover on a podcast, or if you are a professional health and fitness professional that you would like more information about our Health Alliance networking group, or would like to come be on our podcast, we'd love to chat with you. And then we're also on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I don't know all those handles, but you can find us.
Oh yeah. It'll be easy.
Yeah, it'll be easy. We're the only Success Fitness. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Only one in Minnesota that we know of, but in social media there's a lot. Okay, and then we will be back next episode with Coach Hunter talking about functional health coaching. So be sure to check back in. Be sure to subscribe so you can get notifications for future episodes. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Let's grow!